Evening, residents of Litchfield, and welcome to the March 6, 2019 school board meeting. I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As far as revisions, are we just going to move Bill up before the others also? You want to just get him done first? Or?
So I think we're going to go pretty quickly down to there, and then Bill can present first, and we'll get him on his way to some game.
Yeah, some basketball game.
Sportsing contest.
Yeah. So for the public out there too, if you happen to see Liz leave at some point in time, that's where she's going also. So.
We'd all like to be there.
Yeah.
But the board would like to say good luck to Campbell High School boys in their game this evening.
8 o'clock at Snow.
Play number 1 Summersworth. Summary of non-public actions from February 20, 2019. There were no public actions. So presentation and recognitions. We have 2 nominees this evening for Empowering Excellence in Education. And actually, Ms. Loninger, I'll let you go ahead.
So Janice Hood, who is with us this evening, was a founding member of our Campbell High School PTO. President at the beginning and even after her children no longer attended CHS. Janice has been the lifeblood of that organization. Certainly when there are only 3 or 4 people attending, it would have been easy to give up, but Janice continuously stayed dedicated to growing the PTO to support our teachers and staff and students, whether it was coordinating fundraisers, teacher appreciation events, or T-shirts for freshman seminar students. Janice was in front of those things, masterminding any opportunity to provide support to our students. She coordinated our Hannaford's Community Cares contributions, assisted with the promotions of our annual pie fundraisers, and she began the drive that culminated just last week with water bottle filling stations that were that have just been installed at CHS. She's never failed to support teachers when they've come up with specific requests for assistance, and she always finds opportunities in the community to assist. So we have been so fortunate to have her, particularly in my first 2 years driving CHS PTO towards excellence. Thanks, Janice, for all your contributions.
Bill, jump in with him. Bill.
Yeah.
Did you give her her pin?
Scary.
Oh, good. Okay.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
I thought Bill had it on his lapel. I was like,
Absolutely.
this is my first picture yet.
And we have a second. And Heather Stagnone is with us tonight. And there are a small number of parents who have made themselves really familiar in the CHS offices. She's totally supported Campbell High School and its teachers and its students. She's definitely been one of those familiar faces. With 3 children coming through CHS, she certainly had reason to commit, but she went well beyond all of that. We would see Heather at every event chipping in, whether it's meals for teacher celebrations, giving up her time to set up early in the mornings, to serve throughout and to clean up afterwards. If gift certificates were needed for fundraisers, she went out and got them, or she provided them herself through her husband's practice. She went to athletic events and school events, definitely supporting her own children, but absolutely attending those that had no connection. Our children, in many cases, were just as much her own in terms of her support. She volunteered to assist the officers with whatever tasks they needed, whether in connection to graduation, student celebrations, or just offering support and assistance. When it came to PTO meetings and activities, Heather had been there regularly, contributing the time and energy. We have been so fortunate to have Heather contributing to positive climate and culture at CHS. Thank you, Heather.
Mr. Lonigan, she was in the office in a good way every single time.
Yes,
Not just
yes,
in the
not-
office. You were in it
yes.
for a good way.
Good night. All right, that'll bring us to correspondence.
Nope.
We don't get any correspondence anymore. What is that?
I don't know.
Jill.
We're not controversial. We're doing a good job.
I like that one.
Before we shut off our email, one of the two.
No, mine's up and running.
That'll bring it to superintendent comments then.
So the first one I'm going to actually yield to Mr. Zbicki because the driver's education. So we have a new agreement that we wanted to share, and I think everybody's pretty excited about this.
Yeah, so since I came in, so this being my second year, we haven't had a formal driver's ed program at Campbell High School. Granite State Driving School reached out to me a couple weeks ago and noting that he was getting a lot of our students over in his Alvin program. So he came in and proposed bringing the program back to Litchfield. So we did open up a April and a June session at this point, and we'll be having driver's ed back in Campbell for the next couple of years.
Excellent.
I mean, that's good. I'm just shaking my head that I can't believe my daughter's going to be taking driver's ed.
I'm more worried about my son than
She's
you're doing.
14 this week, 15 this week.
Do they give a discount to the schools?
No.
No?
No, but I think it's $5.90 per student.
And
It's
I'm paying
consistent with their-
$765 now,
It's consistent with what he's charging over at Alvin, so he's
Okay.
keeping the
which is
program the same.
substantial.
Corey just asked the other lady, the lady that did it before, stop doing it at the school.
She stopped it as far as I know.
Now, do they do driving hours during the day?
Typically, no.
I was
although
just
if a
curious.
student has time, usually it's after school, but there's
Okay.
sometimes if a child has a study hall.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Provide that opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious.
When I met with him, he was very structured, very process oriented, wanted to make sure he was collaborating, cooperating with us. So,
Awesome.
and they had the DOE come down yesterday or Tuesday. I mean, yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah, Tuesday morning.
So the state police who coordinates the driver's ed for the state came in. So everything checked out okay there. So
It's good to have a solid program back then.
It
It's been a while. All right. I have some follow-up.
Yes, so a couple of school board inquiries from last time. So the first is on the Great East Festival. And so actually, Mr. Lecklider and I had talked about that, and he's going to give the board a quick update on where that sits. It's scheduled for June 7th, if you've seen the music calendar. And so we'll just talk about the nature of the way that operates, and it really is an after-school activity. But
So just a quick conversation with Mrs. Late, but I didn't have a lot of time to really get the history on all of it. But just so the Great East Festival, there is a festival locally that involves it's a site where you travel to the site. There's a number of schools there, and the students play, and then they go to Canopy Lake that day. We decided a few years back that it really wasn't worth the money to pay to get into the festival. And then we have to bus kids sometimes in the opposite direction of where they're going to end up going to Canopy. Additionally, it was taken outside, taken away from some instructional time. So Carolyn decided that we can do this internally, do just as well of a job. Brought judges in from the outside, just folks that she's networked out with. And some of you have probably seen it. So they give feedback to our students. Specific feedback. It's only 8th grade band and 7th and 8th grade chorus. So it's those two groups. And then, unlike the official Great East Festival, the Litchfield Great East Festival is, it's only Canopy Lake after school. So they leave 2:15, 2:30. They return in the evening. The students play during the day. Finish the day at school, and then travel to Canopy that night. So that's the gist of
I think
it.
one of the biggest questions was the cost for that afternoon.
Okay.
If I'm mistaken, GMS PTO contributes $14 per person to go to Canopy,
Okay.
but it still costs an individual $46 on top of that. So I don't know what like a half day is at Canopy Lake, but I can't imagine it's $60.
It was,
Does that include the busing?
No, the bus is
Oh.
supplied by the school.
Okay.
so the LMS trip was $60.
GMS.
The GMS trip was $60.
As far as I know, for LMS, it's only the cost of Canopy. I can get more information from Carolyn on that.
Okay. I'm just curious what the cost is for LMS. And Scott, I don't know if you know offhand. I mean, I don't know, put you
Don't
on.
offhand.
Okay.
But it includes the festival fee, whatever they pay. I mean, that's part of the total cost, because they pay something to Great East Festival.
Right. But I thought that was within your budget already.
Yes, I believe we have a fee line,
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the total cost per student.
Well,
As
right, the
opposed to
total
what
cost
they
per
pay.
student is
Yeah.
$46 from them and 14 from the PTO, so it's $60.
Yeah.
And my understanding is transportation is supplied by the district.
Correct. Yeah.
The entry
And I
fee
think
for
the
Great East
fee- I
is,
think that's true.
right, so it's basically just to go to Canopy. That's what I'm just trying to get clarification on.
And I want to check that.
Let's get
Okay.
that cost breakdown so we know
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
we're proposing. I just looked up Great East Festivals. It actually runs up and down the eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
So, you can go to Six Flags New England. There's a couple of other places, Busch Gardens.
Yeah.
So we should just clarify exactly what we're participating in and what the breakdown is. So we'll get back to the board with
Yeah,
that.
that's fine.
Thank you. And the other item was on the high school beverages. So I think when we had mentioned that we were opening the coffee bar in the morning so that students will be able to purchase their beverages right at school through food service and dining services instead of stopping at some local place that would potentially delay them if they're in a long line at a drive-through. The question became about, can you in fact bring those beverages into class? So Principal Lonergan's got to follow up on that.
Sure. So our student handbook has a food and drink section on it. It prohibits them from bringing into the auditorium, the gym, computer labs, and labs in general. So, and then it also allows teachers to provide opportunity within their classroom to sort of say, what are your rules and what are your expectations? So it's specific but general. So it does have some opportunities for them to bring it in. So it won't conflict with anything that we're doing. It really is a matter of with an individual teacher who might say, no, you can't have them in my room, and the kids have to be smart enough to know that. But I think one of the interesting things is Mike Perez and I were talking this morning, and we have been looking at the students who are coming in late to school. The students who are 30 seconds to a minute and a half late, they're late because they're kind of lazy. They're not valuing, or they're stuck, out on Albuquerque. The students who are 10 to 20 minutes late always come in with the Dunkin' cup or a cup of coffee from somewhere. So, it's the challenge in some ways of them getting out there and getting their beverages when they come late to school. I think this is kind of
Will the coffee bar have will it just be open and kind of in the morning, or is it going to be there all day?
yeah, just in the moment.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
Yep, just in the moment.
So we're already staffed for the breakfast program at the high school, and so this is just an extension of it. And being right inside the lobby, I mean, it's just, and it's intended to be a grab and go, so it should be a pretty quick process.
And we'll shuffle them along if they're late to school and just getting their coffee.
Do you have a tardiness problem at the high school? Do you still give detentions?
Yes.
I know I'm going
Yeah.
off the board
Absolutely.
because it's a problem where I work.
Yep, they get to
Yeah.
7, and then we give them a Saturday. And we really, just before break, started really, well, after, semester break in January, really started going after the kids. And the challenge is for those teachers who teach a first block class. You have 5 or 6 students who come in 10 minutes late. Your instruction is now set back 10 minutes, And there were certain classes where we're seeing more significant problems. The minute you start assigning a Saturday detention,
Fixes itself.
it does. Oh, it does. It does. They come in and then they start scrambling to get past Mike and me.
Do you know when that's going to be up and running?
Maybe next week. I'm not
Just hoping
sure.
for next week.
Yeah, she was shooting for this week, but I think the practical reality will be next week.
So actually, she did a soft rollout of a, what do you call it? It was like a wrap. What's the name of it though?
Oh,
The
yeah,
deli,
the
but
deli bar
there's a
started
name
today.
for it. What was it?
Freestyle rap.
Freestyle wrap. There you go.
Very cool.
So it was a deli, and it's sort of like a Subway concept. So a student can walk up, or staff member can walk up and order, made to order sub, made to order wrap. And she did a soft rollout, didn't announce it, just sort of set it up. And she had 20 kids who took advantage of it today. And a lot of people walking by with their tray going, that looks
Hey.
interesting. So I think she said in Wyndham, they were doing 120 wraps a day. She would anticipate fewer because we're a smaller school, but if she can hit 40, 50 a day, and kids just like the idea that it's made fresh in front of them. They know exactly what they're getting. So full of ideas to
And you
try to
choose what you
expand.
want on it.
Yeah, exactly.
We get
Made
that
to
to
order.
go for after school games or whatever,
Yeah, right. Oh, that's
Mm.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
bus rides.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't even think of that.
Gotta have
It's
to go
true. I mean,
packaging.
our kids are traveling to Canada for something.
Instead of ordering Subway sandwiches
Yeah.
and veg, just order
Yeah.
there.
You just
Good
had a
idea.
marketing angle to go back to. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Pre-order them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Next will be a pizza oven.
It's a great idea.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Is that all you have?
That's it.
All right. Bring us a community forum. Anyone?
I just found an email from Canopy from 2017 when I chaperoned. The cost for the students was $6 and the chaperone cost was $26. So
Because the PTO
if
was
it's
paying.
gone up more,
Well, the PTO was paying,
So that was 20.
they weren't paying the whole thing. I'm trying to remember how much we,
I thought it was 14. Were you there?
Yeah.
I,
it was either
Yeah,
20 or
the-
25, the
in
PTO.
2007, the
20.
kids paid $6 and then the chaperones paid $26. So that would have been, what,
Right.
well, I guess they paid
Yeah.
$20 of it, that.
So now they're
If it's gone up to 40 something,
well, 46 just for the student and 14 more comes from the PTO. That's why,
that's a big difference.
and you're only going for half a day, not even half a day.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. That'll bring us to school board comments.
I have something.
Go ahead.
So this is potentially the last meeting with this board, because election is next week, so we could have a different board. So I just wanted to say that I'm thankful for the last 3 years to be a part of the team. And I think we're in a great place, a much better place than when I first started. We have a great administration. We have, we're talking about what a rock star food services director is. I think we're pretty lucky that, we have a solid admin team all around. And we've come a long way in the last 3 years. It seems like 5 sometimes, but we've come a long way. And with kindergarten, starting full day kindergarten and one-to-one going from a pilot my first year on the board to fully integrated at the high school and at the middle school, it's been really exciting to see those changes come. And Brian and I are both up for re-election, so I wanted to just say that we joke about Brian being kind of the cranky pants of the board sometimes, and
All
kind
in
of
good fun.
But what people don't see is all of the time and research and thought that goes on behind the scenes that Brian
Meetings
does.
during the day.
Right,
that
meetings
we can't
during the
do.
day. He's always looking out for the best interest of all of our kids. Anytime that we've had a really kind of crucial, critical decision to make, he very carefully weighs all the options and moves forward only once he's gotten input from everybody and has a solid vision for moving forward. He's just last year when we were dealing with the out of district placement issue, Brian and Jim O'Neill and you ended up, you weren't
It's
here
all
yet.
settled before me.
But went up to the state and really advocated for our taxpayers in Litchfield and strongly, fought for all of us in town. He's over the years, he's built a really good working relationship with the town. So we've kind of bridged over that us versus them mentality and kind of come together. And even when we disagree on something, when we have a split vote, moving forward from that, Brian always backs up what the board's direction was. He always supports the board as a team. So I just wanted to say thank you you've been a really great mentor. I'm hoping this isn't goodbye. I hope that after the election, we can, come back and pick up the ball and keep rolling with it because we've come so far and we're heading in the right direction.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the nice comments. You say that the board's come a long way in 3 years. I mean, I've been on the board now for 6 years, so
Yeah.
I can definitely attest to the fact that it has come a long way. You stated, and it's true, we have a solid foundation right now from new superintendent, new curriculum, the new BA, new food service. And we're definitely on the right track to definitely bring, I think, this district to the level where we want it to be. And I think it's at a great level already.
Right.
But I think we all know that we can keep moving forward, and that's what we want to do. And to you, Tina, you've done a fabulous job. When you first came on the board, I know we sat around talking about different assignments, and then we talked about the public image and making certain we're transparent. And I don't think this board can be any more transparent than it is, and I think that's due to you.
Mhm.
That you took it upon yourself, said, listen, I'll be the person on Facebook, I'll be the person putting the information out there. And I think we give more information as a board, probably than any other board that's out there. We
Not an
do.
easy job. Answering all those questions, it's not easy.
I think this board is more than transparent when you consider the information that we give to the public. If there's something that's going on, then they have a way of finding out. All they have to do is watch a meeting. If not, they can go on social media and they're going to get the answers. So I wish you well also in the election.
Thank you.
I hope to be back also. If not this year, then I'll be back after that. So because there's still a lot of work to be done, and we've done a lot. And I think not only that we've done a lot of good work and a lot of positive work, but I think right now we also have a good board. I think we have a really good collective mix of a board. I mean, we have 3 educators on the board, which is really helpful. And all 3 of you have different perspectives of how different things and parts should work. And then Tara, who offers quite a bit. I mean, as far as understanding, that's what I'm looking for, as far as grant writing and ways of going about getting things and directions to do. And, coming from nonprofit, you understand also as far as the value of a dollar and how much it's needed as far as for education. So I think we just have a really solid, good board that is there for the best of our students. And that's all we can ask.
Can I just add something? I just would like to say that in today's day and age, there's so much change going on, but I've seen over the last year the value of consistency. And both of you have really been, my rock over the last year, and with Rob being new and me being new and Liz, this is only your 2nd year. I do think that voters should consider that there really is a benefit to having some longevity on the board. And, I think that that's important. And I think, one thing about Brian I'd like to say is that you're not afraid to take a hard line and really look at things under a critical eye. And, I respect you for that. And Tina, all your work on kindergarten was amazing. It's just really inspirational. So, thank you. I do hope people understand that longevity is important. And, I feel like we're in a pretty good place too.
I think so too. So on another note, I don't mean to steal Mr. Thompson's thunder because I'm sure he'll talk about it also, but I was at STEAM last night, which I don't know how many times now I've been there to doing math nights and STEAM night and STEM nights, but it's always a blast. I mean, just watching, the kids, they get there 15 minutes early. We're out in the hallway. Mr. Thompson won't let us move until 6 o'clock. So I'm going to wait for the ribbon cutting. But all the kids already know where their first class is and where they're going. So they just, as soon as they're allowed to run, they take off their classes. But all the teachers of the different classes, unfortunately, you can't get to all of them. There's too many. But everyone that I either went to and was involved with or just peeked in and just watched how they were doing, it's really fascinating what they can present to the kids as far as the process of STEAM. And they did. Your entire staff did a fabulous job. Again, I didn't see every single one of them, but the ones I did, it was great. And it always is. It's always a really good time. So I just wanted to say that. I'm sure you'll probably say a little bit more on it. And again, as we said right at the beginning, again, good luck to the boys as far as basketball. It's going to be a tough challenge for them tonight, but I mean, they're playing extremely well, and I wish them luck.
Oh, and next week is the district festival, the district arts festival. So that's a big week. I know for Campbell, the artwork is going up, and band concerts on Wednesday, and then the chorus concerts on Thursday, which is always amazing. I love, my favorite thing is when all the choruses sing together. It's priceless. So I'm looking forward to that next week.
And the last thing is, because I'm certain if anyone was on social media today that you saw what they did at Campbell High School this morning. On every single locker was a Post-it with a positive note of reassurance throughout the entire school, which was like
it.
fantastic when I saw
Who
it.
did that? Where did it come from?
Key Club.
Key Club did it.
Yeah, just did a terrific job.
So I saw the stickies as I was walking through. Oh,
Uh-huh.
who did this? This is
Yeah,
awesome.
that's great.
Who's the advisor for Key Club?
Heather Davis.
That's great.
I mean, it's just fabulous. I mean, every single locker had a Post-it on it with a positive message.
Awesome.
And that's,
Love it.
But I told him afterwards.
you don't get that everywhere. I
You
mean,
gotta
that's the
clean
thing.
up
We
the
we
mess.
keep talking about
I don't wanna see
we're constantly
stickies
talking
all
about the
over the
culture of this area and the schools and what we're trying to build and what we have. How great our students are and how great our schools are. I mean, that's just a perfect example.
Yep.
It's just, it's fabulous. Job well done. All right. Any other comments? There are none. All right. We have public minutes from February 20th, 2019. No public hearing.
Can I just clarification when I was reading it? Are we going to be are we going to be able to be in the Alice meeting on the 20th, or is that concurrent with our school board meeting?
It's going to be before the meeting.
So I'm envisioning almost like a public hearing. We'll all be in there,
So we can
police
be in
and
there.
fire.
That was the other
Yep.
question.
And then the board can participate, hear from the public community, and then
Oh, I don't
we'll
know.
go do our business after.
It's at 6.
It's at
It
6.
starts at 6.
I just didn't know if we were.
We're trying to get it within an hour. So then by 7, we'll adjourn to the other room and
Thank you.
Business.
Yep.
I'd like to approve the minutes from the public hearing on February 20th.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain.
So that question was actually from the second one. I'm sorry. That was on the wrong one.
And we have meetings again from February 20th.
Motion to approve those.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 500. That will bring us to reports, and we will go with Mr. Lonigan first.
Absolutely. So I was told I could only speak to 2 topics, but I'm going to sneak a third one in quickly. We announced our top 10 students. I'm going to send that to Michelle. It's actually top 11 because we had a tie at the 10th spot with the same exact GPA of 4.11. So I'll get that information to you after today's meeting. Our Alice work, the first thing. We were scheduled to have our faculty meeting Monday, which we were going to spend 15, 20 minutes reviewing with them the direction we're headed in. We do have some concerns with our staff. You know, we came through that training and they were still unsure because you have the old flip chart and you have the old way of doing things. And so my comment to the teachers has been you need to do what you think is correct in that moment, but ducking and covering and hiding is not necessarily going to be appropriate. And we trust you to use your best judgment on that. They have concerns, and clearly the flip charts are outdated, but they're in the process of being revised, which will be nice when we get that. But the teachers really do want more clarity and more information. So the hope is that we actually reschedule our meeting from the 4th to the 11th. So next Monday, we're going to work with the staff and meet with them and say, here's what's happening going forward. And the other piece is, if you want to come to the meeting on the 20th, certainly you can see what the community forum is about and what that looks like.
So Bill, I never asked, it just came to mind. After we had the Alice training, especially in your school, did any students come up to either yourself or Mike or any of the teachers and say, hey, what was it all about? What did you guys do?
Very little.
Yeah.
Very little. Yeah. But I think it's important. I mean, we know it's important moving forward that the kids have to be trained. And
Just curious
as we know, it'll be different. But no, relatively, I mean, none came to me. Now, I can't speak for Mike and whether or not they, but the teachers were excited. They were interested in this, but they're also interested in knowing, okay, we're going to work with students who might be strong-minded and willful and whatnot in the situation. How do we manage them? And you do the best you can right now. So that's certainly the important thing. The other piece to that is Mike has had a sophomore doing a sophomore project, taking our manual, revising our manual, updating the emergency bags with all the contents and all the belongings in there. So that's been an ongoing process, and they're just wrapping that up probably next week or the week after, which is an important piece of this. When we do an evacuation drill, we've changed our processes. You get new teachers, so your incident command structure changes and all of those other things. So those all have been updated, and the students are putting those things together for us. So we're in good shape. We're going to do an evacuation drill, maybe, or stay in place this week. We've done them consistently all along, and the kids are really cooperative. They know what it means to be safe. So that's the Alice work. I'm really hopeful next Monday that we can allay some of the teachers' fears and communicate exactly what, well, not exactly, but generally what we plan to do with students in terms of moving forward and making sure we're making the best decisions. So that's Alice. The other thing that I wanted to sort of go over briefly was our end of the semester reviews with Mary in terms of our semester exams. And we had a way of phrasing this as we met with the curriculum facilitators. We asked them to bring in samples of students' exams for the end of the first semester. And what we're trying to do is raise the needle here just a little bit. And when we look at exams, one of the things we were doing was looking at the depth of knowledge. Okay, what are we expecting students to understand, demonstrate, do in an end of semester exam? That's the first one. And the other piece was to look at competencies and how do the exams align with competencies, okay? Because really, it should demonstrate that a child is competent, or maybe in areas where they weren't previously competent, demonstrate that they are now. So as we look through them, one of the things you look for is you look for DOK 1 to DOK 4. One is memorization, facts, understanding dates, those types of things. As you raise the bar, it goes towards transferring skills or knowledge from one situation into another situation, and how can you use those things in a different application. So what we saw was a real mix. We saw a lot of exams not a lot, but a number of exams that were DOK 1 and 2. Low level, not challenging kids, not asking them to evaluate or synthesize, not asking them to transfer it into some other situation. We also saw, however, a fair number, Mary shaking her head, which were pretty significantly challenging to kids. One of the areas where you see that is your AP exams. So if you look at an AP exam, you look at multiple choice questions, they go from DOK 1, 2, but they quickly go to 3 and 4. They ask students to write, to analyze, to apply. So you saw a lot of that on some exams. But it was, I think it was, one of the things we did is we asked the CS to go back to their departments, talk to your teachers, look at what your exams are, and let's see what we can do at the end of the first or the second semester. So I think it was a really good conversation. It was also eye-opening for some of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would echo that. I think that the conversations were fantastic, and the CS were very open to
Absolutely.
having the conversation and engaging and understanding where we're trying to go long term.
Yeah.
But a little intimidating thinking about trying to make that kind of a change for
The end of this.
the end of the year.
Yeah.
So really, we did focus on just let's how can we move the needle a little bit between now and the end of the year, and just start making progress, start having those conversations, and
But the long-term piece too is the competency piece
Correct.
as well.
correct.
Because you look at an exam, you could break it down into the various competencies for a class, okay? In different sections, okay. Child doesn't demonstrate competency in this area, but your exam, all of a sudden, you're showing that you are competent. Okay, now we have to start looking at, okay, how do we mesh those two? So a competency recovery may be in the course of that class, that exam demonstrates that you've done what you need to do to be competent.
Yeah.
And we can avoid some of the competency recovery pieces that you experience with some kids.
So I'm taking it, we're not moving away from final exams like a true competency-based school. I'm just
wait.
bringing it up.
There's a lot of conversation. I think that
I believe
Right
in
now-
exams, don't get me wrong.
right now we are looking for what's the first step? How do we start moving that and making progress in that area? But we've had conversations about what does this really mean? What does it really look like in a competency-based system? And how do we use it to, prep our kids for that type of an exam or a
They're
longer term
weighted
exam?
very
But at the
heavily,
same
yeah.
time, how do we use it in to truly help assess
Right.
competency and demonstrate competency?
Okay.
So there's a lot of conversation
Nice.
going on.
And-
We're
and I-
just starting it though.
Okay,
And I think there's some value to, significant value in some case to, summative cumulative exams. You
Right.
Take a bar exam, which also get multiple times to take the
Right,
bar.
right.
But you take a test in college, you don't necessarily get multiple times.
right.
So, I mean, I think you have to be somewhat judicious in terms of how you use them. But I'm not certain, me, at this point, you throw it out. I think
I've heard so many
I
things
think you
over the
improve
past
it and
7
develop
years.
it and see what
Yeah.
that looks like in this kind of unique New Hampshire environment.
And I think
Fair
we'll
enough.
see it change in terms of what it looks like.
Okay.
I know we'll see it
Oh,
change in
there's no
terms of what it
question.
looks like.
Yeah, there's no question. Yeah, those were great conversations, and it was a little surprising to me because I thought we might face some defensiveness.
Yep.
But we really didn't. There was some actual recognition ahead of time by some that these aren't such high-level tests. Okay, so we need to think how we're doing this, and I think the department meetings from here out are going to be certainly part of those agenda topics. Are going to be about raising the level. And they've all been provided the DOK charts, so you can
Yep.
take a look at what it looks like for low level versus the higher level tests.
Did you look at the grades? I have a son who's terrible at taking tests, and every single one of his subjects goes down because of the test. He needs to learn to take tests. But I was just curious
I
if you,
haven't yet. In
to
fact,
see, are they doing poorly on these 1-2 tests, or,
I
because
think
that's
there's
a whole
I
different
think there are a
issue.
number of students who are like that who don't test well
Right,
when it comes to like finals.
yeah, I was just curious.
Again, I do think some of that goes back to the instruction. If we're looking at competency-based instruction and then giving, in some cases, some very low-level regurgitate facts kind
Oh,
of
that's true.
tests.
Yeah.
So, we need to bring those two things in better alignment.
Okay,
The only thing I'd add is just hopefully when you say it's the one test, just hopefully it's not a one and you're done. You're competent. Hopefully it's a 2, 3, 4. And
Right.
and I know it's work though, but just
and that's a challenge too, in that you're talking about giving a 0 to 100 scale, and the exam is 15% and 10. So you start looking at how
Yeah.
those things weigh together. It just sometimes you step back and say, it's kind of arbitrary. And
oh, it is. I agree.
Right. Yeah. No. So what's the best way to move that forward? It's a combination of a lot of different factors, but improving the rigor is really certainly an important piece of what we're trying to do right now.
Yep.
okay, I'm done.
No questions? I'm good?
Okay.
Excellent.
There's only two.
Go get a parking spot.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
There's only two things.
Oh, no, the top 11.
They were on Facebook. That was awesome to see. I loved
know,
it.
I know,
I missed that one.
absolutely. Do you want me to name them quickly? Sure. Okay, so I'll go from tied for 11th, Ali Dayak and Sydney Sanchez. Awesome. Well, tied for 10th, I should say. Dallas Schaff, 9. Olivia Carlson, 8. Sophia Shabub, 7. Zach Russo, 6. Alex Jositis, 5th. Billy Randolph, 4th. Noah Vaughn, 3rd. And salutatorian Grace LeBurge. And valedictorian Emily Coughlin.
Nice.
Yep. Terrific group of kids with amazing GPAs, and not only that, but just really well-rounded and so involved in what's going on at Campbell.
Congratulations to all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Great.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank
Good
you.
luck tonight.
Mary, that'll bring us back to you.
All right. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cough. Just want to highlight a few things on the curriculum and instruction and assessment update. First of all, I didn't update this in time. I ended up canceling tomorrow's PERC meeting because it was the work that we were looking to do depended on a meeting that was snowed out on Monday and one that we had to cancel due to a conflict the week before. So we will be having our regular scheduled meeting on March 20th. So, and all those other meetings will have taken place so that we can move forward with that. I wanted to talk a little bit about part of what we have started this year is our walkarounds in each building, looking at just myself going around with the building assistant principals and getting into classrooms and seeing what's going on in our classes. Recently, as part of some feedback that we got, Devin Bandersky and myself have started going through as a paired special education and regular education team as well, so that we can start to look at instruction through the lens of both regular ed and special ed. So that's been very exciting. We've been through LMS and GMS, and hopefully we'll find some time this week to get through CHS. So we're very excited about that. We started our curriculum revision process for math today with the high school. We were supposed to start on Monday with the middle school, but the snow put a damper on that. Had a great meeting today with all of the 5 high school math teachers, really looking at the standards and how that progression is going to be laid out. And so I'm very excited. They were very excited thinking of the prospect of really having a reorganization of what we're doing and refocusing. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that work. We're meeting with the K4 group next Monday to do the same thing. The other thing I just wanted to highlight was gearing up for summer work. It's getting to that time of year. So far on a lot of talk about tech training over the summer. We're going to do some stage 2 curriculum work for math and some of the other subject areas that we've been working on getting the UBDs written. We are, they've changed the structure of the Competency Design Studio. It is a 1-day event this year, but in a good way that will help us to allow more staff to be able to go. So I'm very excited. We're starting to get that team together. And we've had the opportunity to take some teachers to NGSX science phenomenon training. And so I have at least 2 teachers right now that are going to be doing that this summer. So a lot going on. And that's pretty much it.
Anybody have any questions in there? Thank you very much. I'm not sure who's next because I just lost my thing. Who wants to go?
Either way. We can go down the line.
Sure, go right ahead.
Good evening. I'm going to start with just a couple quick. I was told to keep my comments very brief. You know, that's a challenge for me. But I want to recognize Ryan McKinnon. We got word last week that he is one of the finalists for the championship round of the Geography Bee over at Keene State University. He's going to be competing in a few weeks over there. Congratulations to him. Thank you to Kathy Sidlow. She's our coordinator. So very exciting. We had a great bee this year. Ryan McKinnon was our winner, and Ryan Garrett was our runner-up. Also want to recognize we had some great events right before break, but our drama club performed. We had a huge crowd in our cafeteria, packed in. But Steve Frazier and the kids did a great job. But they also were able to perform for the students. We had a late arrival one day, had to cancel, but the other day they performed for the 5th and 6th grade. It was a nice event, nice opportunity for. It takes courage to do that in front of your peers. So they did a great job. And then of course we had our annual dodgeball tournament. I think some of you might have been there. ESPN could not make it; they canceled it last minute. But we had a great representation of our student body in that thread. So, I mean, these kids, they come in, they have shirts made. I mean, it's just like all week. It is the talk of the school, and it culminates with the pep rally. A lot of spirit over the course of the week, but a lot of excitement that day.
Some of them are a little bit over the top.
Oh yeah, they get into it.
Were you there too, Brian?
And then lastly, I just want to recognize Mark Cloutier, one of our volunteers, he's been picking up Krispy Kreme donuts for several years now. We have
Can't believe how many.
20,000 donuts. That's 1,700 dozen donuts. It's a good word problem.
Litchfield
Math
is
problem.
going to be sugared up this weekend.
Friday morning.
Friday morning.
So Friday
It's
morning
this
is
Friday?
pickup day. It's a
Yeah.
record breaker.
Get the coffee going.
Mark's going down with the box truck, picking them up.
What
He'll
time
be
they gonna
back
be
like
back?
a champ at
Ugh.
6 a.m. on
It's unbelievable.
6 to 7:30 is the window on Friday. So,
So it's a record sales this year?
yeah, 17, over 1,700. It's
Wow.
not our biggest eighth grade class. We have 117.
Yeah.
Crazy.
18. So
And they're selling
Yeah,
them
it
at the
was-
high
it was
school,
a
too.
big
They
order,
thought it was going to
so.
cut in on their action. I
Mm.
guess the high school didn't cut in on
yeah,
your
no, it
action.
didn't. It didn't. This was.
What have
It's
we
on a
learned?
different date, so you're just gonna
I
get more
know.
donuts. They just
Every
keep
time
buying
the
them.
form comes in front of me, 2 please, 2
What's that?
please.
We need the coffee bar open.
Yeah.
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 So it was a good crop this year.
Oh, you could totally set up a stand there.
All right. So I'm going to focus on, and again, I'll be brief, but 2 areas. Bill already mentioned Alice and what we're doing at the middle school. So we had a really good staff meeting today. We had some good conversations as a staff. We did do a drill today, shelter in place, which Bill mentioned is coming up at Campbell. We did that today during a passing time. So shelter in place is yeah, we felt like we just need to go for it. The kids knew. It was coming, but they didn't know. They knew roughly what time, but right in the middle of a passing time, Martha and myself and some other staff, we stationed ourselves. We had a stopwatch. Wanted to see exactly how long, and it's amazing. The halls were cleared out in about 20, 30 seconds, depending on the hallway and the area. How many kids were there, but it was very quick. It was very efficient. This one is more this mode of it's when we talk about Alice, we talk about some very serious situations that could happen. This one would be more in the event of something that's a little less time essential. We need to clear the halls. We need to get the kids safe, but it's not like a lockdown, go under the desk like the traditional thing we're going away from. But it is something that we want the staff and the kids to respond quickly to. So it went really well. We got some good feedback, good conversations this afternoon. Martha presented. So March 20th, we have our district community night. And Martha presented again the protocols that we're going to be reviewing, what that looks like at the middle school for kids. Bill mentioned for high school kids, what's appropriate for middle school kids. A lot of it is more scenario based in terms of the drills that we do with kids, so that it's not as much, and we've probably talked about this here before, but it's not as much, go into lockdown or go into this, but it's more, this is the scenario. Let's talk about how you would respond. So with a group of kids, and what are your options and what would make sense. And from the office standpoint, it's all about information, just giving them the information that will then allow them to make the right decisions around what to do. So, as Bill also said, it's new for the staff. Our staff has been, really adopting this quickly, and really was very happy to hear about the timeline. It's a pretty aggressive timeline here over the course of the next few months, but we're going in a really positive direction, and the staff is very much on board and ready to get going with drills and things at the middle school. The other thing I'll talk about quickly is
Before you leave it, because I hope you'll hear when Scott talks, we're really focusing on age-appropriate student involvement, and that's really critical. So what you heard Bill say about the high school, and the way the students will be involved in something is going to differ from the middle and differ from the elementary. And part of the reason, if it seems like it's taking time, we need to get that one right. And if we don't get that right, that's probably where the biggest opportunity for this to not go well come from. So part of us taking our time and getting it right is relative to the student involvement piece. So
What I think is pretty interesting in what you just said, as far as, they did really well. They clear the hallways quickly. I'm thinking to myself, 20 to 30 seconds. And I know we're going to get more into it, especially on the 20th and in the training as we go through the training. But when you stop and think of what can occur in 20 seconds, it's just, it's scary. And it's like, oh, that was good. They cleared the hallway in 30 seconds. It's just frightening to think what could happen.
right. Yeah, and one of the things, today was much more of you're going to end up in a classroom. With Alice, there's many other options that the kids will have at their dispense. So it is still like right in front of us. we're still using the old flip chart that has shelter in place on it. So the committee's looking at revising and updating those. Once we have new language around some of that and the other options on there, and the kids are they have the language down and everything, it's going to look a lot different.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm visualizing. Like
Yeah.
a year from now, what's it
What's
going to be like?
Are these by school flip charts? They're not.
They're not a universal flip
universal?
chart.
District charts.
They're
Yeah, these are
district.
the older
Did you
ones,
get
though.
copies from other districts?
Well, this one we've had in our district
That's the old
since
one.
2008. So
Yeah.
this is an old one.
Revising.
Are you? Yeah, I think
It's
we
being
talked about that
revised.
last meeting.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one of the scenarios would be like, there's a man, a stranger in the cafeteria holding a pipe. And then the kids have to talk about what they're going to do. Like the classrooms, Mrs. Light's room will do something different than what
Yeah.
the rooms down there are doing. So it's not super scary. It's like making up, it's still scary for parents.
The other thing I want to just mention quickly was you heard GMS talk about Bill Atwood, the math consultant or professional development that happened down there. Bill visited the middle school last month, and he visited classrooms. He visited with our math team for about an hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half. It was a really productive day, a good day. He was able to take in a lot and then have some good conversations with the math team around some different strategies. I found it interesting. Back years ago, we did some training on the Collins writing approach, writing methods. And a lot of what Bill uses as his foundation is the Collins writing approach. So having students not just give you the answer in math, but explain their answer and really go through the process of how they get down that line to the answer, and really breaking that process down. The other thing he talks a lot about is vocabulary, math vocabulary, and the level of consistency that we can have from elementary to middle to high school around the same words used in different complexity and different contexts, but the same words. So he has 275 words, which sounds like a lot, but when you break that out over time and you don't just teach the definition and what the word means, but what that looks like and how that's applied to math, the kids get a really good conceptual understanding of the vocabulary. The other thing that I thought was interesting that he did was he does a lot with games and making math fun, but applying math in a number of different ways through games like charades and trying to make it visual, trying to make it even kinesthetic, where they're doing motions and anything to burn that vocabulary and that concept into the kids' heads. So he went over some of that with the kids, and graphics are a big part of what he does, and using graphics so that math is visual and really getting that sense of what it looks like over not just the middle school years, but from elementary to middle to high school. So it's a productive day. He'll be back, and the teachers had a lot of good conversation with Bill.
Just to piggyback, we split the day, so he was at LMS in the morning and had a similar experience at CHS in the afternoon, and we will be bringing him back for the secondary level at least one more time.
I feel like it's already making an impact. I actually was talking to one of my boys last night about math, which has been their least favorite, and it's not their least favorite. I said, why? I said, oh, we're doing more projects. It's just more interesting. And so I'm not sure if it's related to that. It sounds like it is. So, it seems maybe it's making an impact.
Anything for Mr. Leckliner? All right, Mr. Thompson.
All right. In order to sneak in my extra, I'm going to call it a presentation. So here's a quick presentation I just want to share with the board. I mentioned in December that our students had been invited to create Christmas ornaments for the governor's Christmas tree. So we did that over a weekend, from Friday afternoon when I called her to Monday morning. Mrs. Sterrett devised a project that would meet the requirements of being New Hampshire-based original Christmas ornaments. So we elected to have our fourth graders bake them. So they not only made them, but then we could send 30 to 60, and we have 88, I think, fourth graders. So Mrs. State devised a way that everyone could participate. The ornaments were hung on the tree. And then when they visited the State House in December, got to see their ornaments in place. And we were surprised in January to receive this signed and governor's seal photograph. It's just very exciting, I think, for our fourth graders to see a direct connection to our State House, which they visited.
Where are you going to hang it?
It's already been hung in the lobby. I removed it today.
Nice.
It's just, I think, a pretty neat thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share that. That's not one of my two. So I did want to talk, however, about STEAM Night. And so thank you very much for the acknowledgement to our teachers. I thought they did a fabulous job with coming up with really creative and kind of age appropriate, all the way from preschool to fourth grade, activities that kids could do that were about, well, all of the STEAM things, which I think everyone knows what they are, so I won't take a minute and say it. But some of the things that they did, I just wanted to share for those who couldn't attend. One was the Martinetti math game. That actually was brought to our school by Bill Atwood, so that was one of the things that the teachers did. There were a number of construction projects that kids could do out of kid-safe kind of things like spaghetti and marshmallows. And I have some pictures I tweeted last night of projects to see how high you could go with those two items, pieces of spaghetti and marshmallows. And the first graders were so excited. One of them did the highest. Kids had to make boats out of, in Mrs. Sabona's room, out of tin foil or clay. I think those were the two choices. And then they float as many pennies as they could in a kiddie pool. And
She's awesome.
it was just amazing
Inside their
to
boat.
see what they came up with. And then everybody who had this kind of challenge, they had a chart where they were recording, the kid's first name. They could see how well they would do. I talked to Mrs. Sabona about that specific thing this morning, and she said the one who did the highest, he actually had a pretty low number. He said, "Can I try that again?" She said, "Of course." So he redesigned his boat, and he floated the most number of pennies. We had rockets going off in the school with Alka-Seltzer as a propellant.
Nice.
They didn't go too high, but I'm glad to say that Mrs. Cullen Kent had everyone wearing goggles, so no eye injuries. That was really cool. They made the rocket and shot it off. We had some kind of crafty things that were, they were more crafty. People were making bird feeders. We had some physical science kind of things, recombining familiar ingredients to come up. They made silly putty, and the ingredients for that were glue, Elmer's glue, and
I'm not sure. There's something clear. I don't know what it was.
it was, but it makes silly putty kind of
Was it
thing.
liquid starch?
I'm
Borax?
not sure because it was already like in a different.
It was just amazing.
No, because it wasn't slime. That's
No, not slime. It's
or whatever.
we used to call it, when I worked in preschool, we used to call it goop. So if you like ripped it, you could cut it and it would be like a solid, and then it would kind of melt into
Yeah.
a liquid.
Yeah, and you had to knead it for a while.
Yeah.
Otherwise
There
all
was
sticky
something
and
very
sticky.
Yeah.
familiar. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
it just changes the physical state of familiar things. There was one project in the kindergarten I just loved that they were painting with, think back, they were using shaving cream, I think, and then salting it. And then they were painting it. So it makes like puff paint. And then the salt absorbs food color. So they were painting the paintings with food color. It was just fascinating to see what they were doing. They made lava lamps, and there was a lot of technology around robotics. So a big hit Mrs. Parent won the award for stumping in advance. I teased her a little. She had a big sign. She went to the 3rd and 4th grade classrooms because she and Mrs. McMullen, the enrichment tutor, found an online project, which I think I saw Dartmouth College. It's one of the things they just sent to rural children in New Hampshire and Vermont as part of a project to get STEM into rural communities. And the project is they actually got $1 vibrating pens or something.
Toothbrushes.
Oh,
And they made
Yeah.
robots. It was, no, toothbrush. Yes, $1
electric, like battery.
electric toothbrushes.
I heard about that one.
And yeah, so they made these robots that would draw kind of like a spirograph random thing.
Yep.
So they did this, and so they were promoting that. They had 25 kits. They were gone in 15 minutes. So it was just amazing stuff. I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Starrett, one of our founders and coaches for the robotics Lego League team at GMS, the art teacher. She actually was running that as the event in the gym so more students could become familiar with it. And it led to an invitation. They reached out to us from the CHS. I want to get this right. The first robotics competition team 3323 called Potential Energy. That team came over with their high school robotics thing, had that in the gym. So that was going on. So people could really see the K through 12 connection. It was just a great evening. So I just wanted to bring a little more light to that and share my excitement. And again, my thanks for teachers. I also want to thank, and this is a good place to do it, for a student who donated the shuttle bus that gets our parents back and forth to the middle school. They've done that in the past, and I just think that's great for them to do that. So thank you for a student. So that was my number one. Excellent. And number two is Alice. So my story is similar to what as you've heard from the high school and the middle school. But when I get to the page, since our training, we have done a variety of things. So the training I'm referring to is September 19th. We actually all did the online training last March, if you recall. And then we had a snow day when we had to remove the training to the fall. So we've been thinking about this for a long time. We've had 5 meetings with our emergency response team. We've had our 5 evacuation drills. We also did reverse evacuation drills. For us, that is done at recess. So the last 5 minutes, we tell the kids we're going to do it, but we give them a whistle signal. They come in without lining up, which for elementary students is like unheard of. They just come in from the playground and do reverse evacuations into the building, which is a really different skill. Then we line them up in the gymnasium and take attendance once we're in there. We, of course, check that no one's left behind. We've also done lockdown drills in the cafeteria. So what that means is they don't stay at their table. We have a location that we practice going to. We do not time these because we want them to understand that this is a specific thing. So we practice it in a very controlled and kind of measured way. But we do it in a place where they are not with their teachers and they just have to know what to do. So we've done that in all 4 levels, grade K through 4. We talked about on October 3rd, our faculty meeting with the staff began strategizing how we would implement Alice at the elementary level, because one of the things we heard in the September training is at the elementary level, we're not going to teach the students to be active resistors. That's not what they do. And I think that's really key given that our students are age 3 to 10. So it's a very different impact and different implementation at the elementary level, and especially at the very young. Our 4th graders could begin to do some of the things that we do at the middle, but not, I think, the really young kids. So, of course, there's a transition. There is a book called I'm Not Scared, I'm Prepared, because I know all about Alice. We went through that book with our entire staff at the October staff meeting. It begins to give us language to talk with young children about how to be prepared in the event of an emergency such as this at the elementary level. It really is focused on following and trusting the known adults. So it isn't really about the kids coming up with their own solutions as it might be with young adults. It's a really different scenario. We also have collected the emergency bags. We actually replaced them all with this year's emergency response fund that we have in our budget with backpacks because they're easier to manage than the older bags we had. And we are also, based on the Alice training, re-looking at what we want to have on hand in classrooms, because in the event, for example, of an extended lockdown, which happened recently in Manchester when there was, I think it was Central High School, they were locked in the classrooms a long time. You have to have things on hand that we hadn't really thought of. We're going to continue with that process. And we have also been doing a review of classrooms. We have an older building. I know that's not new to you, but because of that, we have so many different configurations of locks, interior doors. We have to go room by room to come up with, so how would we secure this classroom? And all of our rooms, of course, connect in big blocks. So we're trying to work through that in a very room-specific way. Today, Mrs. Clinton Jones reviewed the timeline, looked at the protocol drafts that are floating about, and talked about the upcoming parent forum. So I think that our staff, and they've heard since September 19th, that yes, we're in a new world where it isn't simply lockdown. You have to improvise. You have to respond to the information you have. And I shared with them that I had been actually to, I never remember the name of this school, the elementary school next to Alvern. It's something Hill in Hudson. Hills Garrison. I actually went to the Alice lockdown drill last May, so I could see how it was implemented at an elementary level, which was really helpful. And so those are the things that we have done to this point.
Does anybody have anything to talk?
I just had a question about, wondering if parents, is there a book for the middle school like that you're using as a guide? I'm just wondering if like our libraries have these books available for parents to read, and or they might be available potentially at the book fair that's coming to LMS. Are there any
They
books
do.
that
I don't know that they have a book like that, but they do have guides that are in student-friendly language. So when I spoke with the representative that came to our school in the fall, he pointed us towards some, not exactly like a flip chart, but it's language with the Alice stuff in it in a kid-friendly way. Okay, not exactly like a picture book like that, but yeah, resources like that for the kids.
So if parents wanted to, they might be able to find some of these books at the school libraries.
Resources that have
Kids
the
can
Alice
borrow.
language in it and stuff. Yeah.
So one other moment from the STEAM last night. I was in Mrs. LaBelle's class, and she takes about 5 minutes to teach a dance. And after she was done the instruction, she started the music, and 2 young ladies that were doing the dance started doing it. Then this cutest, I don't know who she was. She was probably maybe 2 years old. Came walking in as the girls were doing the dance, and she just started to like mimic and like was doing some of the moves. And like one of the moves was like putting your hand on your nose, like turning your hand and switching hands. And the little girl was doing it. Like I said, she was so cute, and it was just so funny where she just picked it up like that quickly.
Sounds very
Just walking.
Zoe-like. That's something you're.
Yeah. It wasn't her though. Whoever she was, and like I said, she was like so cute, and she just like jumped in. And that's just it. It's like of all ages, the little kids and the bigger ones, they all enjoyed it. So it was great. All right. So we had dining service reimbursement report.
Yep, and so this is our, at each of our meetings at the beginning of the month, we'll give this quick update. So if you look for the month of February, we increased the number of meals that we served over the previous year. And our per meal, or per day meal count went up by almost 80 meals a day. So we really are seeing some pretty good numbers. And if you look all the way over to the right-hand side, you can see last year we served 65,386 meals by the end of June. This year we served 52,251. So we're really on track to surpass that by, mid-April.
So these aren't reimbursable meals, these are total meals.
Reimbursable.
These are the reimbursable.
That's right. This is the
meals.
I had to look at the title of it. We should probably put it on the document itself, but it is the reimbursement report.
Okay.
So how does that, I mean, I think it's all very good. What is the budget impact? Like, are we spending more to make the meals and then we get reimbursed for more? Like, how does this year's sales compare to last year's sales
In money back.
in money? Yeah. Do you know
We're-
what
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
We're on track with last year in terms of revenues.
Mhm.
This is basically, so in the past, you haven't necessarily been serving a meal that qualifies as reimbursable, and Lauren's really put a lot of effort to make sure that everything that is sold fits into one of the reimbursable categories. So we are getting we're getting more revenue from the
Okay.
federal government than we have in the past because of these meals are being served.
Oh, okay. That was,
But in looking at the big picture, I mean, we're investing in the food service program, right?
Right,
So
right.
we've had to do some repairs in the kitchens, and there are some additional staffing in order to deliver the meals
Right.
that the students want to eat. So
it's a different
a higher
Yeah.
quality. So
quality product.
it will increase revenue, but there'll be a higher expense
Sure.
side of it. So it's something that we're monitoring carefully. But, remember, this is intended to be a neutral. So if we come out at zero, we're okay,
Right.
because that's what we need
Yeah.
to do. So taxpayer dollars do not support this. It needs to be self-funding.
Right.
And really, there shouldn't be a huge balance at the end if we're
Right.
doing it correctly. So we're, doing our best to monitor that. But
And a lot of times too, in the past with the former director, there was a large fund balance at the end of the year, but there were items and equipment, that equipment in those kitchens is getting older.
Yeah.
She would budget for them and then not do any of the investment. So now we're starting to really put the investment in to make sure that we have some up-to-date equipment, have what we need.
Good. It sounds like, I just continue to be impressed. She is knocking this out of the park, and she's full of, in talking to her, she's got amazing ideas. Like the coffee bar thing is a great place to start. But, if we can grow this program so that we can start to cater events that happen at the schools, or, like who said bag lunches or bag dinners for our sports teams, or, it's lots of opportunities there.
I haven't seen any posts recently on Facebook. Have you? I mean,
Complaining?
there were complaining. Yeah,
Well,
there were
I haven't
at the beginning of the year, but I haven't seen
Yeah.
any
No.
recently. So, I mean, if there are challenges, I know that she's open to feedback for anybody who's watching. So
Yeah, I haven't seen any.
hopefully,
In
haven't-
fact, I contacted her on Monday to ask what the menu was for Tuesday, and she got right back to me. And I know she wasn't working
yes, I
because
answered that
people do
question.
want to know,
Yeah.
because you don't want to send a 5-year-old in there who won't eat Tuesday's
Right,
lunch. And
right.
she got right back to me.
It might be a good idea for her to put on, it's almost done now anyway, but just put on the menu, like a little line on the menu, that if there is a snow day, here's what
Right.
you're going to revert to whatever date you go to.
I think it
That's right.
depends, and she had mentioned too that there would be scenarios that she would have just carried forward Monday. It
Mhm.
depends on what you have on hand,
Yeah.
what the schedule
Yeah.
looks like.
That's-
So it
yeah.
may not be consistently.
Or if she can just send,
Yep.
just a message out. I
That would be
suppose.
awesome.
Blackboard.
But the other thing I think that report tells you is so we're selling more food, so kids are eating more food, which we all know that food is energy.
Right.
So, and if it continues, then, the complaint used to be at CHS especially that there wasn't enough food.
There wasn't enough food.
And it sounds like there's more than an abundance of choices, more than an abundance of food as far as for likes. So hopefully what that's doing is fueling the kids, and it's just going to help them out in everything else that they're doing
Bigger
throughout the day.
portions too.
Well, I'll just give one example with like the portions of pasta. When she came in, the portions of pasta that they were serving were appropriate for elementary school level kids, and they were serving them to high school
That,
kids.
I believe it.
So those portions have been brought up. So it's things like that to make sure that kids are getting enough.
Well, and I think too, it, you know, moving away from the processed, prepackaged, heat and eat stuff in a can that we saw a lot of, and moving away from that to better quality
The
products,
breakfast in a
we're
bag.
feeding our kids better food. So, you know, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yes. Good.
Breakfast in a bag.
What's that?
Waffles,
Oh,
yeah.
that was like,
I like the waffle.
Not still in the plastic.
well, not when it's cooked in a bag with 3 other ingredients.
Unwrap them at
It's
least.
your breakfast, yeah. All right. Now come to our enrollment report.
Yeah, so next is the enrollment report. Now, this is through February vacation, so we've actually had enrollments since, but let's give you an update on where we are. So basically, GMS is up by 12 students this year. And did you pick anybody up over the February vacation?
We began a new kindergartner on
Oh.
Another eye hook in the wall. That's it.
Oh, wow.
So we're adding to that number also.
I'm
And that's where our
glad.
biggest increase has been.
I'm gonna say yay.
Yeah, it's all, I mean, increased enrollment is good.
teachers
left.
Yeah.
87 kindergartners.
Wow.
It's not even that. It's how many are in a classroom. They're like little ants. Needy.
Yeah. And then, and while we're on the numbers, also looking ahead to next year, you can see the kindergarten registrations. During the month of February, we picked up 10 more. So we're at 52 for next year. I think that surpasses where you were at this point last year, Scott, if I remember correctly.
No, last year we had 62 at this point.
Okay.
And we have 52 now.
Okay. So you're actually behind
Yeah.
that count. But we do continue to encourage if there are people in the community who know they have a kindergartner to get those in. You know, just a reminder to the board that we have in the operating budget the 5th kindergarten slot if we need it. It's only if we hit the number to stay within the class size guidelines. But it is in the operating budget. It is not in the default budget, however, because the default is built on this year's staffing. So. You know, that's just an important distinction for people to understand. That is one difference between operating and default. And of course, we're committed to only filling it if we need it. It's not automatic. Looking at the middle school. So the middle school is actually down by 1 student from September going into this. But
It's nice to see
Tom,
Tom found a few
you
back.
picked up
Yeah.
how many this week?
We
4?
have 4 kids over the
Twins, I
break.
heard.
We're up to 407 right now.
Twins, yeah.
Yep.
What
4.
grades?
So great.
3 8th grade, 1 7th.
So what were they?
3 in the 8th grade, 1 in the 7th.
8th grade's gonna be a big class.
Yeah, that class is so let's see,
So it'll be 120.
117, 120. Yep.
Desirable schools.
And the senior class is 121. So it's a wash when they come in.
112
Yep,
in the 7th.
That's right. And then the high school is actually even. There's been a little bit of up and down over the
Yeah.
course of the year, but they're basically at the same size. That's a great observation, Brian, that, you know, 121 students will exit.
120. At
And
least
120 will rise up. So it'll keep
Yeah.
the high school number about stable.
That's good.
So
People don't like to move when their kids are in high school.
It's tough.
Okay. We have some revisions on our volunteer handbook, which some people would be very pleased to hear.
Yes. So a couple of things I want to just highlight. So we are bringing forward the volunteer handbook. This was from a board inquiry, and we revisited what was there in writing. I got to find the right page. But if you click on it, actually, let me just compliment Michelle on a brand new cover that she designed. So if you like the colorful
I
hands,
do like it. It's very
Michelle
pretty.
put that together. So thank you for that. And then under the volunteer guidelines, it looks like it's the 3rd page. You can see highlighted in yellow, we've added the option for the principal to allow younger siblings to come in on a case-by-case basis. And what we mean by that is really, it depends on the job that's being asked. It frankly depends on the child. There are some children who are more energetic and could be more disruptive than others. And so it really is that case-by-case basis to make sure that it fits, because the focus of the volunteer needs to be on the task that they volunteered to do. However, if it gives some flexibility so that a younger sibling would not prevent a parent from volunteering, we wanted to make sure that flexibility was there. So, so that's been added into the handbook. And on the last page, also highlighted in yellow, just to make sure that everybody's clear that volunteers are serving under the school district. So it's just crystal clear spelled out that that's exactly how they are doing that volunteer piece. So they're not, sort of personally liable if something were to go awry. They come under our policy.
So we need a motion for these changes, correct?
That would be perfect.
Make a motion to approve the changes to the volunteer handbook.
I second it.
Doesn't matter.
And it's a fourth.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain. I think really that's what we were looking for when we had a discussion at the last meeting. I mean, this is all you need for flexibility.
For your Griffey store and whatever else you
Well,
need.
just
yeah.
different things. I mean, I realize, like Dr. Jetty just said, that there are some volunteer jobs that you're not going to bring a younger sibling, or a younger sibling would not fit in. But there are definitely some, especially in GMS, that it'll fall into that category, especially where they're, people come in for maybe like an hour, in the middle of the afternoon, and they're not going to try to find daycare for that 1 hour, and it's just not feasible. So I think this just gives you a lot of flexibility as far
It
as to
does.
control that.
Yeah.
Great. I think that's great. And we have revisions to policy BEDH.
So BEDH is a public participation in board meetings. So it speaks to the public that's here tonight if they wanted to participate. And we had a recommended change that came from our association, the School Board Association. And if you look at this policy down toward the bottom, there's a paragraph or a section that's been struck out. And then unfortunately, you have to flip the page if you have paper or keep scrolling, and you'll see in italics the supplemental language. So what is now recommended language for the policy. And I guess I would just take questions or, pardon me, concerns that you may have with this.
I don't know. We've had people come to board meetings and discuss items that were not necessarily on that meeting's agenda. I don't know. I just,
Well, it says or upon any other matter.
or what's that?
It says right after it, or upon any other matter of public concern.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't scroll down far enough. I retract that.
So is the reason why they are being more flexible as far as making comment on items that are not on the agenda?
I think it's in general, obviously it should be a matter of public concern related to the district. So, if you don't have something on your agenda, but something is bothering somebody, they ought to be able to bring that up and at least raise the topic so that you can put it on a future agenda or somehow make sure that it gets addressed or.
But they would do that in public input,
That's what,
right?
yeah. So this would be the public input part. So if you read the existing language, it really doesn't give that opportunity. This just makes it a little bit more clear.
Because I mean, that's the way it's normally done. Like if someone wants to bring something up in during the public input, then they can bring it up. We're not necessarily going to, deal with it right then and there.
Right.
It's something that we'll take into consideration. Do we put it on a,
Right.
an agenda afterwards, or do we have discussion?
Yeah, that's fine. I just didn't want to be limited to limit input to only items that are on that meeting's agenda. I think that's
I
too
agree.
restrictive. So it sounds like I didn't need to be concerned about that.
Most likely action would not be taken though. Like if they brought something up that wasn't on the agenda, most likely you're not going to take action on it. We won't take action or
Right,
vote
but
on
you-
it or anything
You
else.
can
Right.
still listen.
Right, and it would be in the minutes.
Yep.
Is this just the first reading? then?
This is a first read.
So can you clarify the language about bringing up issues regarding individual employees? So it sounds like it wasn't allowed previously.
Still
but
not.
Still not. It's
Still
just
not.
clarifying
It sounds like
has
it's
to be in private.
recommended that it's brought up
In private.
in private.
Well, you can't just,
Just clarify.
you can't discuss as an individual. I mean, you can if you give them praise, but I mean, anything else, I mean, if you, let's say, have a situation with a particular teacher, then that's something that's gonna be done in non-public.
Okay, good. All right.
So if someone came in during the public input and started to go after a teacher or a group of teachers or a principal or something like that, we just shut them down. It's like, it's,
So is the board
And-
request that comments, blah, 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 is that strong enough? I mean, to me, a request
On the board.
versus, the policy.
Except the superintendent. People can come after the
Yes, they
superintendent.
can.
And we don't have to shut him down.
Right. I noticed that.
It says it several times in that paragraph.
Bring
Right.
bring it.
That's that whole thing when we went to the training.
Yep.
You're technically the only employee the school board has, right?
true, but
That's right.
it's still the same thing. If you have someone.
Right. Personnel
Yeah.
matters.
Right.
Has anyone ever done, not since I've been here, has anyone done that?
No.
No. Come up and badmouth somebody personally?
No, but like I said, if they did
Board
it,
meetings have been stopped by the chair when that has happened.
Yeah.
Oh, that was before my time.
And that's the way, this basically addresses First Amendment rights. So the word,
Yeah.
the board requests that comments, including complaints regarding individual requests, is because you can't usurp someone's right to make a comment in public. However, the chair still has the right to stop that if it's about an individual and go right into executive session.
That's a good
Executive
clarification.
session.
Well, that sounds fancy.
I've never been to executive session.
Non-public.
Oh, okay. I've done that.
Yeah.
that's fine.
it's not- it's not that.
Can we call it
interesting.
executive session?
Sure.
Because it sounds fancier.
Have it.
We'll have to vote on that.
Oh, okay.
Non-public.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Do you need a motion for an approval for first reading?
I could bring it back for a second reading.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll so made.
Second.
Let's approve for a first read. We have a first and a second.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain? Opposed? All right. Review on self-funded programs.
So that's a little bit of background reading for the board, and we do have some legal advice in the public that I want to bring that forward for. So we'll just hold that discussion
Okay.
for that.
All right, that'll bring us to the manifest. We have signatures on the manifest.
No, we need one more.
That'll bring us back into public input.
Corey gave me the area.
Any?
Thank you.
Hearing none, we'll be going into non-public. Public session, RSA 91-A.
Carolyn, right?
Yeah, we can, right on that line. We can come out and then go back in.
Yeah.
Do you want me to hang around?
Can you?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
interrupt us.
Yep.
by all means.
Do you mean executive session?
Yes.
Just got your,
Oh, thank you.
What's happening?
actually, you know what? Can we take a recess?
Recess.
We'll take a recess. 'Cause we're just waiting for someone who should be showing up any moment. So we'll just take a recess until she comes. Carol. Yes. All right. Thank you very much, and we're back from our short recess. And Mr. Lecklider has a presentation, and thank you for sticking around, for those of you at home.
Sure. Okay. So just wanted to read this nomination of Carolyn Late for the E3 award. So I sent this letter in of nomination to the Litchfield School Board. It is with incredible honor and pride that I nominate Carolyn Late for the Empowering Excellence in Education Award. It is next to impossible to capture Carolyn and her impact on our district in a letter. To start, Carolyn is a band director and music teacher extraordinaire. Among the literally hundreds of honors, awards, and recognitions that she and her students have achieved over her career, the latest, relatively latest, deservedly so, was New Hampshire Band Director of the Year in 2015. Carolyn graduated from UMass Lowell with a degree in music education, where she was, of course, president of the UMass Lowell. She's going to hate me for this. I can't even look. Just, can I leave first tonight? Of the UMass Lowell Marching Band, the Lowell Marching Chiefs. It was not long after that when she felt the calling to Litchfield and signed her first contract for a whopping $13,280 to be music teacher at GMS. She caught a very serious case of middle school fever, and when LMS opened in 1988, joined the team. She was tasked with building a music, band, and choral program in Litchfield. And did she ever get the job done? Today, Litchfield's music program is known to be of the best. In a performance-based area like music, it all comes out in the wash, or at least in the concert. Many of you have had the pleasure of witnessing an LMS band concert. If you have not, over and over again, the comments come back. I can't believe this is a middle school band. They are better than most high school bands. This does not just happen by accident. To watch Carolyn teach and conduct her students over the year, or over their 4 years at LMS, or 7-8 years in our district through her program, is a journey through amazing. The students come in having been in Barbara LaBelle's talented hands for 4 or 5 years as cute little recorder players, and leave 8th grade skilled performers, practically adolescent experts at their instrument. Carolyn has a way of getting the most out of each one of her students and is a master of personalizing education. She also has a true mastery of understanding of the growth mindset. No matter where her students begin with her, they make growth that most, including parents, would never dream of. In addition to her talents in the music area, Carolyn has consistently throughout her career been a leader. Whether through her role in the LEA or assuming positions around the state, she gets the job done, and while doing so, always treats people with the utmost respect, while firmly grasping a large coffee and perhaps a pocket full of Tootsie Rolls. Caroline's vehicle is commonly one of the, even tonight, the last in the parking lot. She has served on countless committees in our district and has provided music lessons to hundreds of students. Over the past 2 years, Carolyn has not only continued to bring excellence to our music program at LMS, but is now director of the district band program, grades 5 through 12. She works in both the middle school and high school, and has worked to bring even more fluidity to our district programming. Jill Pennington, choral director and music teacher at Campbell High School, shared these words about Caroline's work. Carolyn has incredibly high standards of musicianship for her students, but she also has the skills, knowledge, pedagogy, and compassion to help students attain those goals, both individually and collectively. She gives continuously of her time, talent, and training to be sure that her students become stronger musicians and more responsible citizens. Mrs. Late is an incredible asset to the Litchfield community and to the state of New Hampshire. Carolyn, thank you for your years of amazing work in our district. You have touched thousands of students and blessed them with the incredible gift of music, which is the heart of education. Thank you for always advocating for students, for the arts, for education, and of course, for what is best at LMS and CHS. Congratulations on this recognition of empowering excellence in education.
Excellent.
Take one.
Okay. Oh, the camera. Yeah, the shoulder.
Another rose in the middle.
Hold on.
There is revenge.
That was cute. You looking up at Tom like that.
I look up at most people. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. I didn't mean to keep you, sorry. I was a bad
Goodness
kid,
gracious.
I will never forget that ACDC song the band played
Oh.
ever.
Oh, yeah,
my
that was
whole,
great.
that was my favorite ever.
Oh, the combined one?
Yes.
Mhm.
That was just a
It's
couple years
hard
ago.
to pick a
I
new one every
love
year,
that.
I gotta tell you, but.
You're
I can't go,
gonna,
I got a good Jason VC.
you're gonna
we're doing-
disclose what it is?
We're doing Sweet Caroline,
Oh,
because I figured the Red Sox won last year, and I figured
Nice.
we're heading into baseball season, so.
I love it.
Yeah, so I figured June, May, June, that'll be a good time.
Oh, it's good for
that,
New
so.
England. I know
Awesome.
that.
So it'll be fun. We'll do audience participation, of course.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. And good night, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go back
Awesome.
to non-public.
do you need a motion? Yes, yes, yes.
Yep.
Okay.